Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bitcoin.com Expert Interviews, where we interview experts in the Bitcoin and crypto industry. My name is Corbin Fraser, and today I'm thrilled to have Andreas Brekken, a true pioneer in the Bitcoin and broader crypto world. Andreas Brekken has a long history as a developer in Bitcoin and crypto. He co-founded JustCoin, an early Bitcoin exchange out of Norway, worked as one of the early devs at Kraken, then later co-founded Sideshift.ai. He also writes some very awesome and fun, interesting reviews of crypto tech at shitcoin.com. He's navigated the challenging waters of Bitcoin scaling wars and countless hard forks and countless dramas on the crypto Twitters. And more recently, he's been introducing some new innovative DEX features into the crypto swap landscape. So, Andreas, thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you. We haven't caught up, I guess, in probably 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, that's an amazing intro. Thank you.
I'm trying to pump those tires, man. I'm really pumped.
I mean, I like
this
it.
Guy's great.
I appreciate it.
He's an expert. Cool. Well, tell us about Sideshift.ai first before I start grilling you on some questions.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm the founder of an exchange called Sideshift.ai, and it's we started calling it a direct to wallet exchange to make people understand a bit better what it does. Because on Sideshift, if you wanna swap your Litecoins for Ton on Telegram, then on a traditional exchange using Binance or Kraken or FTX2 or whatever that may be, then I mean, the process, we all know the process, but you go to the login page, username, password, 2FA, verification link by email. Then you go to your funding page, you click deposit, you choose Litecoin, and you have to generate a new address. Which type of address would you like? On Litecoin, of course, would you like your SegWit wrapped? I can't recall all the names. And so on. And then, from your Litecoin wallet, whatever that may be, you send the funds. And now you wait for confirmation. Because there's not so much hashing.
Sounds totally easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's not so much hashing power on Litecoin. So they're probably going to want, 10 confirmations, each one being 2 minutes, maybe more. Wait for that. And then you go to the trade page. You sell your Litecoin for, I think USDT would be a good choice as an intermediary pair. You do market order there, and then you go to the trade page for Ton, the Telegram token, and you do market buy with your USDT into Ton. You go to the funding page, you go to withdrawals if you can find it, because exchanges don't want you to withdraw, so they show you the deposit button, but they hide the withdraw button, which is a cool trick.
It's a fun trick. I like when they do that.
Yeah, and then now you add the withdrawal address, 2FA, email verification link, and you initiate the withdrawal of the TON tokens to your wallet, and you wait for it to process. So this is what we become accustomed to, and it works. I think the biggest problem with this process is most people are going to skip all the last steps. So they're going to leave the Telegram tokens on FTX.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is what the exchange wants. Because they may be lending out your funds or whatever. Like the TVL, the total value locked in the exchange, is very important for the exchange. It's a metric of success. They don't want you to take the funds out. They want you to hold the tokens on the exchange until they're hacked. That's basically until that day, right?
It's kind of a side quest of theirs. Yeah, it's like make money.
Yeah.
But also just hold your bags until said hacking happens.
Yeah, until you're hacked.
Yeah.
So Sideshift.ai is a direct-to-wallet exchange, which means you go on the website, you can choose what you have and what you want. Have Litecoin, want Ton. Right? Click next. Now we ask you where to send the TON tokens, which will be your Telegram wallet. Click next. It says send the Litecoin here. You send the tokens. And as soon as we receive it, we're going to settle the Telegram tokens to you. There is no, we call it direct to wallet because it's direct to your wallet, because there is no option to let us custody your funds. We don't even have a system for tracking your balances. You cannot maintain a balance with us, even if you wanted to. So we're skipping all of the steps, and at the same time we're helping you help yourself to self-custody.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the most important thing that led Bitcoin.com to integrating with you guys, was that there was that goal of like, this is a service that's going to be the rails for self-custody wallets. It's not trying to say deposit your assets to FTX 2.0 or whatever the CEX thing is. It's just like, come use this thing, get what you're after.
Yeah, this and it's so clear. And to all the people out there trading meme coins today who got this going, good for them, because they probably onboarded by buying USDT or maybe USDC on an exchange, and they sent the money to their Phantom wallet or their Backpack wallet or their Soulflare wallet, and they have no more interest in being on the centralized exchange, right? They're probably swapping inside. If they're staying in Solana, they're probably swapping inside the wallet, either using the built-in function, which is a bit more expensive, or they can split up the orders. Maybe they're using Jupiter, which is an aggregator. And then outside of Solana, if they want to buy, I mean, you guys have Ethereum tokens and then Bitcoin Cash and so on, then they can swap into the Bitcoin.com wallet, which would use Sideshift actually to do the Solana tokens into Ethereum tokens or something like that. So these users are very lucky because they were never tricked into custodying funds on the exchanges. But the people from the last cycle, the FTX cycle, they were all tricked by the yield on FTX and everybody wanted to custody your funds, right? Yeah. So I think I think the generation, the 2024 cycle.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's kind of like the like, if you think about it in cycles, the latest cycle here is maybe going to be the most self-custody friendly cycle in history, right?
Very positive, very, very positive experience. I think they don't care. To them, it's like a convenience, which is the best. Because we've been sitting around telling people to self-custody for years, and they're like, why would I not get paid 10% per year free money? Like, who cares?
Yeah. In some ways, we almost have the government to thank for that, as messed up as that is. Going after all these CEXs and these central point of failures have just forced the industry to be like, maybe that wasn't the right model. Maybe we got to get back into this, like, get back to our roots and self-custody first.
And it's a bit silly because, I'm not a big fan of regulation, as you know, in general. I think it's better. I think most industries can regulate themselves very well. But in our industry, with the case of FTX recently, we failed to do so. It came very late. It was a leaked balance sheet, from FTX that caused Fizi, the former CEO of Binance, to sell his FTX tokens, which led to a bit of a collapse.
Yeah.
So I think it was a cooperation between the sexes of being greedy, and honestly, the users of the sexes, nobody was even using the block explorer to see that the FTX was selling all of their coins to buy their own coins. So anyway, the industry plus the government, I guess, did this, and we're living in a cycle with a lot of self-custody.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe just given that we're talking about these different cycles, your cycles go back multiple bull and bear market cycles. You were quite early in Bitcoin. I guess a question that maybe folks who have never heard of you or checked out Sideshift, maybe you could tell us a little bit about like what was the first crypto or Bitcoin pill that you swallowed? How did you get into Bitcoin initially? What was that like, that first interaction, that first touch point?
Yeah, I started using Bitcoin very early on, so about like 2011. And then there was one big Bitcoin wallet, which was called Bitcoin. It's the one you download on bitcoin.org. It was available only for desktop. I think only for Windows. And yeah, it was a very simple wallet, send, receive, transaction history. It didn't have any other functionality. And the downside at the time, everybody says, oh man, I wish I'd found Bitcoin in 2011. But if the efforts you had to go through to buy Bitcoins in 2011 was crazy. You had to go PayPal and actually sometimes you had to go through currency of games, like a game called Second Life. You had to bounce through PayPal because it was illegal. It was very difficult to buy back then. So that was the on and off ramping. But Bitcoin itself was very easy because there was only one wallet that was popular, and it was called Bitcoin. And the fees were 0. So it just seemed to me, I thought it was like a PayPal with its own currency, but it wasn't run by anyone specifically. It was being run by peer-to-peer networks like Napster or something.
Yeah.
1 second. Yes, yes, please. This room, okay. Cleaners.
So
I thought Bitcoin was just a different PayPal. Bitcoin, which had some kind of a price.
Yeah.
It was free to use, and at the time, PayPal didn't have a mobile wallet. So for Bitcoin, there was one mobile wallet called blockchain.info. And that was already one step ahead of PayPal. So to me, this all seemed great. You can even send, you can send and receive funds if the recipient is not online and all these kind of things. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about the privacy. First, I didn't know. Then I thought it was anonymous. And then later I understood it was the opposite of anonymous. It's highly traceable.
It's a fun learning journey for a lot of users. They come in thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna get into Bitcoin and nobody's gonna know anything.
Nobody's gonna know anything.
You dumbass. They're gonna know everything.
Yeah. So so I'm a programmer. That's my background. I've been doing it my whole life, and I understood pretty quick that you. Once you have a Bitcoin wallet and you have some funds on it, you can make your own that control, like remote control this wallet you have. And if you can remote control the wallet with what we call an API, that means that you can integrate this into anything, right? If you can have a program that gets a transaction history or can send funds, that's all you need for a checkout solution, right? On a web shop or in most cases a casino, which is what everybody was making back then, dice sites. Yeah. So that's what got me hooked. It was the ability was having this super easy program, requires nothing to know, and you can remote control it to send and receive value with anyone, anywhere in the world, which is a huge thing because most payment systems are terribly restricted in terms of location.
So it was mainly the programmable money thing that drew you into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, we use programmable money to mean something else today. Mm-hmm. So I would just say money you can move with a computer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of funny that I think that idea of programmable money was like really, I think what drew in a lot of the early Bitcoiners. There was this like excitement about this idea. I mean, you had Antonopoulos writing books about it and all of these like, interesting use cases like you were saying, dice sites and different casinos and stuff like that. There were all these like on-chain games and cool things were happening. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I guess it was programmable because I don't want to get too technical on this, but the technology behind Satoshi dice is programmable money. Because the casino pays you back your original bet plus your winnings, which leads to a lot of interesting technical things that I'll let the viewers or listeners go and look up for themselves.
Yeah, and while you're looking up stuff about that, maybe just for fun, if you are going to play some of those dice games, because the best way to learn how to use Bitcoin is probably to do some dicing. It's you got to look into the martingale strategy. That's always a fun one. It works until it doesn't, and then you're like, damn it. But yeah, that's a fun one. Yeah. Lost a lot of money trying to martingale my way out of losses. It's like,
you need to
double up.
No, you need to do reverse martingale.
That's it. Is that one's where when you win, you double up instead of when you lose?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. You got to be like max degenerate and ready to lose a lot of money in order to like, win your way out of it or lose your way out of it, I guess. Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess in that sense, from 2011 to 2024, you would have been a young man back then. You're getting a little older nowadays, so you've kind of seen it all. You've seen the I think when we first met, it would have been post scaling wars. So you were already, I think, observing all of the Bitcoin scaling wars and all the chaos that was kind of heading towards, I would say, like the Bitcoin community. Maybe you could share, I guess, where your head's at in terms of Bitcoin scaling. Where do you see things going? There's been like a ton of new developments on like new Bitcoin layer 2s. Of course, there's Lightning. Of course, there's side chains. Like where do you see this? Where do you see Bitcoin going in the next little while?
Yes, I think from the previous scaling wars that we've had, we've learned a few things, and there were some things I didn't appreciate. But one thing is, it doesn't really work to fracture the system. It doesn't work. So even with Bitcoin Cash and others, breaking out is very, very difficult. And one thing I didn't appreciate is that people who break out, they tend to perform more fractures afterwards. Almost like just repeating. So that people who break out as this minority faction, once that is done, they don't reach stability. So they will start to argue over new things because now there's a new power structure. So more people will break out of that, and they will break out of that. So it becomes like a fractal of breaking out. As we've seen with Bitcoin, what you end up with is basically no one survives, or only where they broke out from, which is Bitcoin, really survives. And I didn't really appreciate that, but it is very easy to see in hindsight.
Yeah,
so
I tend to agree.
Yeah. So what we
did you ever read that article from, I think it was Mike Hearn, where he had kind of like he foresaw some of that fractalization of Bitcoin communities and his worry that, if the community can't stay together, it would lead to a fork, and then the fork would lead to more forks, and then the fork would lead to more forks, and you would just have this like splintering of just scattered to little pieces until it's just not really as effective as the potential that I think the original network effect had, or something like that.
Yeah, and but I think what Mike Hearn didn't appreciate, and which all the people are rage quit, it includes Antonopoulos as well. What they don't appreciate is most users do not care about their squabbles, right? So Bitcoin has retained its network effect and gotten a lot more since the scaling wars. Now you can always say, well, if there had been no scaling war, it would have been even more. Sure, but Bitcoin, which now is ticker BTC, is doing fantastic, right? And it may not be what you want now or what you wanted 2 weeks ago, but it's working really, really well, and it's growing fast. And most users were not really aware this whole scaling thing happened. They don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's kind of in the rearview mirror, even I think for a lot of the people that were through it. It's kind of like it's an old scar you might talk about over beers and have a laugh, but it's not like the stuff, and be like, every day you're thinking like, what could have been?
No. So that's not a big deal. And I think it worked out well. I was arguing with a lot of people who favored small blocks for different things back in the day. And but I was very careful. So when a war is over and you lost, the war isn't really over until you guys meet up and shake hands and have a beer and talk about things. That's when it's over. So I did my best to. Because my side lost, the big blockers we definitely lost. So I did my best to meet all the people I've been debating with over the years. And hang out, and we have a great time. We have a very good relationship with most of them, actually.
Yeah, I think I always really respected how you approached the scaling wars. Because I know for me, when we first met, I was 100% ideological. I was all in on BCH. I was like, this is going to be the thing. We're gonna fix Bitcoin and make it great again. And I remember there was a couple times you kind of were like, nah. Whatever happens, happens. Like at the end of the day, if you hold OG Bitcoin, doesn't matter how many forks there are, it doesn't matter who wins, you just got those OG coins. And I always really respected how you kind of kept a open dialogue going between all different camps. So I remember you were really close with Daniel and some of these guys from the BSV camp, and then you were close with Al Murray and some of the BCH guys, and then you were close with all these like really hardcore BTC maxis as well, where I think you took a much more mature approach to just being like, listen to everyone, maintain relationships, because you don't know what's going to happen a year or two from now, but not get to a point where you're, putting war paint on your face and saying like, this is the cause I'm gonna die for, because it's like, there's maybe more to crypto and Bitcoin than just being a full maxi on anything, whether it's one fork or another, or the main BTC or something else.
Yeah. And I think that's been very helpful. And in your original question, you asked me what I think about scaling today. You mentioned Lightning, you mentioned other layer 2s,
L2s,
side chains, drive chain, and so on. So I think Lightning is dead, which I wish we as a Bitcoin community had declared it dead many years ago. But it was a tough one because in order to help them win the scaling war, I think they would have won regardless. But to help them win the scaling wars, many of the maxis, not all at all, they embraced Lightning and pushed it as the solution. Still would be, we don't need bigger blocks or more capacity because we can offload the payments to Lightning. And it's one of those things like, as soon as you tried it, it didn't really work, but now you're so committed. So then everybody was saying, well, Lightning is new, it's going to work in the future. And, we discovered that most of these people hadn't even used it, didn't have a wallet or anything, but they were still doing it, still promoting it because that's what they had said. And I think a lot of Bitcoin maxis, they continue to promote Lightning way after Bitcoin had won the scaling wars, which would be for no reason. At all, but it like out of a habit.
Yeah, it seemed like so in some ways just towing the party line. Like there was enough programming that was being absorbed from them, from social media or from other leaders in the field saying this is the way you scale Bitcoin, and it just became the default talking point when it came to like we don't need big blocks. We've got this other method of scaling, even though probably 80% of Bitcoin users haven't ever interacted with this Lightning network.
No, I mean, we're talking way more of Bitcoin holders. We're talking more than 99% because most Bitcoin holders may just have a Coinbase account, right, or something. So, Yes, I think it was very necessary. People kept pushing Lightning even after BTC had won the scaling war, because pushing Lightning became a weapon. And when the war is over, you don't need these weapons. So they should have just given it up. But it's better late than never. So people seem to be understanding that Lightning has some design flaws that cannot be corrected, which is like people having to always be online, and you have to lock up your money, security issues. It's hard to onboard people with it because it's expensive to open channels, and then there's a lot of things. So I think a lot of people are understanding that now, or admitting it, which is fantastic, because it happens at the same time as people are getting interested in Bitcoin sidechains and layer 2s. So we're getting rid of this dysfunctional dogma at the same time as we have a solution. So then nobody feels like they're just stuck there like, well, if you don't have Lightning, what are you going to do? No, there's so many options. So I'm very, very excited about Bitcoin right now, because we're starting to see many layer 2s being invented and produced. Like anything in crypto, like anything in any gold rush, yes, most of them will be scams and terrible, done by people who don't know what they're doing, right? But we just need a few. And we already have Drive Chain is underway. It's been taking forever, but it doesn't matter. Bitcoin is a long-term project, right? And it's been very niche, but Blockstream Liquid is still around. It's a federated, so a bit more permissioned one. And I think we're going to see many more like Blockstream Liquid. Maybe some spin-offs from other companies, who knows?
Yeah.
But like any innovation is positive, right? It's all good. You don't have to use it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my take as well. Is like I think any of these new BTC L2s, it's ultimately a net benefit, even if there are some
huge,
are, like you said, there's going to be some that are a little sketchy, or that don't, or maybe are more permissioned than Bitcoin maximalists or Bitcoin users would be comfortable with. But I think that
or should be comfortable with.
The layer 2 thing becomes kind of like where this free market can kind of, I think, fight and compete for TVL and compete for the best use case and the best security methods and the most decentralization. And it does become like what do the users actually want? Do they want extreme amounts of decentralization? Do they want as close to you're never going to get 100% of the security model of BTC on a layer 2, but which can get closest to more security or something like that.
For sure.
So
the users will,
it's exciting times.
Yeah, the users will be able to move hopefully quite seamlessly between the layers.
Yeah.
And I really do think I think it would be beneficial to have less tokens on these base, and possibly most of them being BTC. So by that I mean I think Ethereum would be better if you just wiped out the Ethereum ticker and paid your fees on Ethereum with Bitcoin. It's just easier. There's too much friction in having multiple currencies. It's the same reason, like, why does the euro exist? Why does it exist?
Simplify it for the normies, even if you got a dog in it,
Yeah, all USD, it's fine. We admit they run the place. You should get over yourself. So, so I think that would be beneficial. And with layer 2s, the fee paying token or the base token you can see off these layers is Bitcoin. It's very easy for the users. So, and you said, what do the users want? Well, they want to interact with smart contracts and gamble and have fun and make and trade memes and open perpetual positions and all this stuff at super high speed at the cost of zero. This is what the user wants. I want all the features.
Just do all of that stuff, and then
all the features. All the features at the speed of light for free. That's what everybody wants. Oh, with security, with the security of Bitcoin. Yeah,
ideally with that. Yeah, you don't want to compromise on that, but probably in the early days,
maybe even more security. Who knows? So that's what the users want. Yeah, that's what the users want, and It's gonna take a couple of years, I think, or maybe just a year until some of these settle, and then we'll know.
Which do you feel like are the front runners in this L2 space in the current? I mean, who knows what's going to come out a year from now or 2 years from now based on the success and failures of the current L2 space. But are there any standout projects that you think are interesting?
I think my favorite is DriveChain. It has always been. DriveChain is it's a Bitcoin layer 2. It's a side chain for Bitcoin that enables creating any number of side chains. Maybe users of Avalanche will be familiar with this. They're called subnets on Avalanche. So it does that, but for Bitcoin. And side chains can have any technology they want. So they can have smart contracts like in Ethereum, even Ethereum smart contracts. And they can have also be very high throughput, like Solana. It's up to whoever makes the sidechain, right? What matters is that you're using real BTC to act on these sidechains. So yeah, I mean, I'm cheering on DriveChain because it's decentralized, but it would have to get integrated into Bitcoin, which means getting the permission of either the devs and the users, or only the users, which may or may not happen, could take a while. Or they would have to fork Bitcoin, which has its own challenges, as we discussed before. But if they do fork Bitcoin, it would be a different fork, in my opinion, because it would be a friendly fork in that it forks Bitcoin with the hope that Bitcoin adopts these features itself, rendering the fork obsolete, and because the fork doesn't have its own, this fork simply wants to get merged back into Bitcoin, right? And it would be very happy to die like that. And then Blockstream Liquid
would be kind of an interesting concept, right? Where it's like we are forking with the goal of becoming dead.
Yeah. Maybe you should put a time limit on it. Who knows?
Yeah.
So there's that one. And then Blockstream Liquid has failed to gain any adoption for many years. I'm not blaming the tech or anything. I think it's just, I think they were a bit unlucky with the timing. They were offering a product that is similar to BitGo Instant, which is a transfer service that basically made the environment for Bitcoin L2 or transfer systems pretty hostile, because exchanges were unhappy. But they're having it. I think they're giving it a new shot now with Blockstream Liquid to see if they can get adopted by exchanges, maybe compete over with Tron, that's moving a lot of USDT today. So we'll see. And then there's DEX, which I'm not familiar enough with. I've played around with it a bit, like buying stacks, storing it in a hardware wallet, using a staking service, but I haven't used enough of the DeFi stuff to know, but it's been around. We got Rootstock, which has failed to get any adoption for a long time. And of the new ones, I thought there was something called Building on Bitcoin or Bob or something, and I realized that's for some reason it's on Ethereum. It's on Ethereum, so I'm going to disregard that for now.
Yeah.
And then we have BitVM, which has been making a lot of noise. The main thing I noticed about BitVM is that people are not complaining about it with technical arguments yet. So that probably means there's something really clever about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not being dismissed by the maxis quite yet. So I guess that's an interesting one. Have you used any of this?
Yeah, I've been keeping a close eye on the stack side of stuff. I think the other two that I've been watching closely have been CoreDAO, and then there's also Babylon. I think those are the two I've been.
Babylon, I heard about this. That was...
Yeah, they have.
What was Babylon?
I think it's called the Spider Chain, and they've got like a unique their security model uses something like there's some slashing involved through like threshold, multi-sig signatures. So you're basically locking up your Bitcoin in a self-custodial manner where you've got one of the keys. So I'm probably doing an awful job explaining it, but I do know that if
does it have
anything you're not supposed to
does it have any
oh, go ahead.
Does it have any smart contract or capabilities?
Yeah, I believe the idea with Babylon is that this allows them to have like an EVM experience where it's basically your typical kind of EVM chain where you can run smart.
That's cool. I think there's going to be loads of these. I'm very excited to see this. Be very fun to use Bitcoin to have like a Uniswap and an Aave and all of this. But when you go there, it's BTC, right?
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting.
I think it's funny that Bitcoin, while being the first mover, is often like the second or third or fourth, or in this case, like the 10th mover, at least on the smart contract front of like bringing in this stuff that's been happening now since DeFi summer. What was that, 2021? 2021, I think it was DeFi summer on ETH when things got real crazy with all the vegetables and fruit, yam, and you had like pickle and what else?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, like it's been a little while since that's been going on ETH, and then that came over to Avalanche, and then Polygon, and then BNB, and it's done the tour now, and now it's coming back to Bitcoin where they're like, all right, let's bring it in, bring it home, Man,
Aave, like an Aave, or even more interesting, DAI, the algorithmic stablecoin, on Bitcoin would be very, very cool.
Yeah,
so I think I'm very, very excited about Bitcoin right now for the first time since I didn't even know before Lightning. So
yeah, I think
a positive direction.
I think for me especially, like I was very deeply involved in Bitcoin Cash. Like I began as a Bitcoiner and then drank all the big block Kool-Aid, on Reddit. This was like in 2015, 2016, 2017. And came out as like, I'm a BCH guy, And I think, I can confidently say I'm very excited seeing what's happening on Bitcoin. Like it seems like there's this new class that doesn't really give a shit about the old politics. And they're just like, hey, we're just going to build stuff because nobody's going to stop us. Where I think, for a few years, everyone that was kind of saying, I'm going to try to build stuff was like, I'm just not going to be welcomed here. So I'm just going to like move away to Ethereum, or there was this like brain drain from Bitcoin into other chains. But now it seems like there's sort of a resurgence of some of the brain drain coming from other chains back to Bitcoin, which is kind of interesting to see.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody out there, if you're developing on Ethereum or Solana today, and you're thinking of moving to developing on Bitcoin, you should do it because the Bitcoiners have way more money. They have all the money because keep in mind the Ethereum ICO only raised in Bitcoin. So all the people who hold all the Ethereum are Bitcoiners, and they have more Bitcoin than Ethereum. So there you go.
That's a sad reality. Well, I guess I wouldn't be fair if I didn't talk about scaling and not mention, of course, Bitcoin.com. We support Bitcoin Cash in addition to Bitcoin. I guess you've been a Bitcoin Cash holder, and I think even for a brief period you're even a supporter. I guess what's your take? What's BCH doing good these days? Where is it going wrong? Where does the future of something like Bitcoin Cash or another fork like eCash or Bitcoin SV, where do you see those chains or those forks going?
Yeah, I mean, I was my supporter and holder thing was going back and forth quite a bit. Been the supporter longer than because I do like seeing the experimentation, but we were seeing evidence after not too long in Bitcoin Cash that it just wouldn't hold value against Bitcoin. It was a pretty like going in one direction, right? But for the technology, there is something complicated about having hard forks all the time, which is that every hard fork is a burden on future developers, because every wallet and every node for a chain needs to incorporate every hard fork that was ever done. So every time there's a hard fork done to Bitcoin Cash, there's more code being added, right? More and more and more and more. It accumulates. And then when somebody wants to make a new wallet or a new node, they have to put in all these however many hard forks that have been done into the software and understand it. Which means that a transaction that happened before the hard fork cannot use the features, but one that happened after can use it. So there's a lot of this we can call conditional logic and put in the wallets, as you know. And it's a really big burden. So I think the optimal way to do this, just write the thing once and never hard fork. That would be optimal. But of course, this is not possible because we're humans, so we make mistakes, we make bugs, there are things we don't think about, and and the things that we want changes over time. So over time, we want more, less, or different features. We're never happy with things. So there will be hard forks, especially emergency ones. So I think all the hard forking in Bitcoin Cash is a bit too much of a burden. It also requires operators like exchanges and wallets to make routine changes to the Bitcoin Cash infrastructure, which is not required for Bitcoin. If you didn't upgrade your Bitcoin infrastructure for like 5+ years, nothing happened. It still works. As for the features they've added, I think the best case for Bitcoin Cash is that they become like a test bed, like an alpha kind of thing for Bitcoin. And I hope, at least in the future, that the Bitcoin core devs will follow those changes and consider incorporating the Bitcoin Cash changes, some of them selectively maybe, into Bitcoin. I think is the best case.
Yeah, I think on the burden to organizations and developers and businesses, it's something we see a lot. You know, like I'm not going to name names, but we saw even just there was on May 15th there was a hard fork on Bitcoin Cash. It was just their typical network upgrade, but someone
I had to upgrade infrastructure.
Yeah, and if you don't upgrade, things just stop working. You know, you become this. You become orphaned, and I think. If someone's not paying very close attention, or they're just not prioritizing Bitcoin Cash because it's maybe not doing as much volume or whatever on their exchange, it's possible that it just goes offline. And then it's possible when it does go offline that they're like, do we even need to upgrade this? Should we just yank it out, you know? Every time they have to think about that and that question becomes a brought to someone's front of mind, sort of like it's a risk to I suppose adoption of that currency. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say for sure there is some nice peace of mind with Bitcoin where you just don't really have to touch it that often. It's sort of like you set it and forget it, and it's kind of good. So from like a business standpoint, it's extremely nice to not worry about. I guess where do you see that fine line being between, like, especially for something like Bitcoin Cash or any of these other kind of, I don't know, say more progressive chains that do more regular upgrades? Where do you find this fine line between like upgrade regularly and like ossification of the chain where you're just like saying, hey, we're never doing an update again. This is like, code is law. This is, Pregorite or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah, I think on too many upgrades, we have Bitcoin Cash and Zcash. Zcash, I've stayed in all the time. And like you said, there's not many Zcash users. So as somebody operating the platform, I'm always thinking like, should we just not upgrade and just leave it? And on the not enough upgrades, maybe Bitcoin, I don't know, because I think there's been too many upgrades to Bitcoin also. Why do we have like 5 address formats? It's a bit stupid, right? 1 address, 3 address, BC, and there's the other BC. There's Bec32, Bec32M, Taproot, pay to public script hash. you know, um, it seems over engineered. It really does.
I mean,
So so that's this.
That's built by engineers, right? It's an engineer built.
Oh my God, I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. Never listen to engineers about this. Do not make an engineer your product manager. We will just invent stuff for no reason, just to keep us occupied or because it's fun.
Fun challenges.
Yeah. So for Bitcoin, I wish they had done way less changes of the ones they have. Some of the ones they have done. And maybe some more changes like like the famous atom backscaling 1 2 4 or something, just like doubling the capacity every now and then, keep it easy. So on Bitcoin, I would say not enough and too many, so the wrong ones. And then I think Ethereum, Solana upgrades a lot, but I think they have very good communication with the node, people running the nodes, and they probably made it very easy. But Ethereum seems to be upgrading at a really good pace. I don't know how often they do the hard forks. I'm going to say it's once a year, something like that.
Yeah,
but no matter what the pace is, I think the pace on Ethereum seems really good and well chosen. Yeah. The last hard fork cut the cost of making transactional layer 2s, such as Base and Arbitrum and Optimism also. Just cut the cost by some ridiculous number. It's just slashed by like more than 90%. So that's like, now we're talking about shipping features that people need. So thank you, Vitalik, and everybody. That's an amazing job.
Yeah, like the Denkin upgrade was great, I think, even for the end users, because it was like you've made it cheaper for the L2s to roll up or do whatever magic sauce they're doing to make their L2 an ETH roll up or an ETH L2. But then for the end user, they're benefiting this from like all of those fees coming down on the network, where right now you could transact on ETH again for like occasionally, depending on the time of day, for around $1, which it hasn't been like that for quite a while. It's nice.
Yeah, and
great.
Yeah, and the Denkin upgrade also solved the problem, because the layer 2s they were storing not junk data, but the data that is not useful for very long. They were storing on the Ethereum blockchain forever, and the change just made it so you can pay less and you can still store stuff, but it's only going to be there for, I think it's like 18 days. Perfect. Everybody wins, right? So a really good upgrade.
So speaking of, you see the layer 2 space going in on Ethereum. I know there's some folks that are, say, bearish on there just being too many. Others are saying, well, we're finally seeing some interoperability. I guess, what's your stance on the ETH L2 space? Is this the future of Ethereum? Are we going to see the L2 space pick up? Are there more L2s coming? And
I feel like I don't know enough, because I would just say, just shut it all down, keep Arbitrum. I don't care how much better or not it is. I just like the name. And shut everything else down. Stop fracturing, and let's be done with it. Because then we can concentrate the TVL, and it has GMX, right? So concentrate the TVL and focus on getting some, and getting like this holy grail of DeFi, which would be lending with collateral spread across chains or on different chains.
Yeah.
Now, then we're talking
other chains, and then being able.
Yeah. Like, this is where we need to go. Yeah, it's very tough, but I hope we get there. So yeah, stop fracturing the TVL. Optimism, just get acquired by Arbitrum if that's possible. ZK Sync, give up, and let's go.
So you and I think the last time we were chatting, I was talking to you about how it's kind of, I think I was like sighing a little bit, saying like, man, it's so funny that like these days I'm holding more WBTC than BTC. And you were kind of concurred, being like, I'm unfortunate for those people as well. So I mean, I guess I can speak for myself, at least. I can say, for me, going down like the WBTC route, like once you take the WBTC pill and you're like, whatever, I know it's centralized, whatever, I know I can probably whatever, I know I can be blacklisted, but it's like, but it does give me those juicy yields that I want, you know?
And we should make it a challenge to anybody watching this. Before we disclose it to you, please tell me, where does the WBTC come from? Where is the Bitcoin being held? How is it being controlled? No one knows this. It's just how it is. I know because I'm old. So it's being custodied by Bitcoin. And
in the United States
I don't
of
know.
America.
Yeah, and I don't know how many BTC we're talking, but it's not great. I'm gonna look for us right now. WBTC market cap. Oh my God, it's 10 billion, right?
Yes. It is WBTC
And
is the layer 2.
It's a multi-sig. It's a multi-sig. Does some people understand?
Who's the key?
That's where we are.
There's on that multi-sig.
So yeah, that's what's holding up the WBTC to users. Honestly, I like just not to think about it.
Yeah, I try not to, but every once in a while, I'll wake up in the middle of the night being like, "Oh God, what am I doing?" And then I start.
Who's holding the keys?
I start getting paranoid because then I'm like, "Oh man, what have I done? I'm on WBTC, and then I'm also in a smart contract with WBTC and like BTCB on Avalanche, and it's
you know,
and then I'm like, oh,
I know that's
I'm
bad.
holding two different bags of non L1 BTC. I've just given up all.
So then you're thinking like, okay, I'll get back to BTC, but now you need to use the SEX, or you can use StoreSwap, which has already been hacked like 4 times.
Yeah,
so you're like,
it's almost safer in the custody thing. The little, we're playing such stupid theater games still, even in the DeFi space. Like we say we're better, but then, you and I are still using some pretty stupid centralized products because it's just because they're convenient though. It's very
absolutely.
As soon as it becomes inconvenient, I'm probably out. But I just hope I'm not the one holding the hot potato.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, very strange. Have you followed any of this stuff on layer 3s, app chains, kind of these community-based chains? Are you following any of the developments there?
I haven't followed those chains because I'm not completely understanding what it's needed for. I assume they're like subnets for L2s, which is cool. And I'm not totally seeing the need, but I'm sure it's going to be a thing. So I just don't have any expertise to comment. I know I just read some snarky piece that one of these L3 series was doing maintenance on their L3s the other day, and which just meant they were offline. But I don't know enough.
Just a quick little upgrade. I think it was Conduit. They're doing an interesting like layer 2 as a service. Yeah. Smart guys, though, aside from, the upgrade issue there. I spoke to a couple of them, really hardcore degen guys. Like, you and some of their guys would probably have a nice mind meld. But yeah, it is kind of an interesting problem that I think they're trying to solve, where it's like commoditizing at the L2 space, which I guess maybe could be good if you're trying to find like new use cases and like tweaking some of the parameters. But it does also mean like it becomes more fractured, kind of like what we saw with the L1 space, just becoming like copy pastes of EVMs. And it's like, you guys are just doing the same shit with a different label and a different logo.
It's the old story, right? On Bitcoin Talk 15 years ago, whatever, more than 10 years ago, first people were making forks of Bitcoin by just tuning the parameters, right? Feathercoin, Litecoin, all this stuff. And then it became commoditized. So then there were make your own Bitcoin fork. You just put in the parameters in a form, and somebody would make it for you for a fee. So we're just seeing this. We're just seeing history repeating itself.
What's old is new again. Yeah. I guess with regards to the DeFi space, you guys have been doing quite a bit in the DeFi space recently. Could you tell us, I guess, a little bit more about what Sideshift is doing within the DeFi world? How are you guys touching these DEX pools? How does that support your business and kind of where Sideshift is going?
I'm going to skip the question because because we separated all the DEX stuff out to another entity, which is run at sci-fi.org.
Right.
But it's no longer part of Sideshift. It's a bit complicated, so let's just go.
Hey, no worries. Okay, moving on to governance. From your experience, I guess, how do you see governance? Is this just like a theoretical exercise, or do you consider this LARPing, or do you feel like the actual use case of governance, which I think in the last few years we saw a lot of talk about, are people actually using their tokens to govern? Is this something that you see continuing to be part of the narrative going forward in DeFi and crypto?
I don't think I'm the right person to ask because I've never participated in governance, which says a lot.
You're a nerd, and if the ultimate nerds aren't touching it, it is kind of a signal, maybe.
Yeah, and but I do think if there was a project I was very passionate about, I was holding the governance token and I was using this product a lot, I do really think I would be what we sometimes snarkily call a community member and be part of the governance. I do think so.
Yeah, that's cool. I think most of these L2s are still operating under that being like the main use case for their token. And I guess I still see that as like an interesting idea. And I think, it's something we tap on a little bit with our Verse token as well. We let our community members have some say in some stuff. And I think it's fun. You do get I would say the most devout kind of hardcore people coming out, but it doesn't always mean that you're getting a true representation of the users that are actually holding the tokens, because who's actually going to log in and go to Snapshot, log in, sign a message to prove that their identity is this thing, and then they're going to read through these proposals and be like, as a technical user, I'm going to vote on A or B. And I guess it kind of, in some ways, is a bit of a, I don't know, bit similar to just in general, democracy as a whole. You do get the people that are showing up aren't always the people that should be showing up,
Right. You just need a system to delegate votes. This is how it's solved, right? And then the person who cares, they come to you and they're like, "Hey, Corbin, you need to delegate your vote to me." And you say, "What vote?" And they explain to you that because you're holding this thing, you have a vote and you're not exercising it. And as a friend of you, who you hopefully at least respect their opinion somewhat, you would be happy to delegate your vote to them. So this has been worked out, right? This functions.
Have you ever dug into Hidden Hand?
No, it's not.
Oh, you're
so familiar.
So Hidden Hand is a dApp that lets you sell your vote, your governance vote. So if you hold a big bag, and you can basically take bribes, where you're like, "What do you want me to vote for?" So you can kind of it's like the free market delegation of you can become a delegate as a community member, or you can basically be like a free market. I'll vote for anything. You just pay me some money and I'll do the vote.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of scoop and buy more votes for certain things. It's an interesting, free market use case of the idea of governance tokens.
Yeah, this is very popular on Ethereum. So if you look at Curve Finance, the people who hold the Curve token, they get to direct where the marketing budget of Curve goes. They call it, favorable CRV emissions or something, but it's a marketing budget, right? So they get to vote on which of these liquidity pools receive more favorable payouts. And because most people who hold these CRV tokens, they don't have a strong opinion or they're too lazy, so they so somebody made another website called Convex Finance, where you can go and you rent people's CRV Curve tokens, but when you're renting them, you only use them to vote. So there was this extremely complicated setup in what's called the Curve Wars, which you can read about online. It's very interesting stuff, where people were buying and selling votes on Curve at ever increasing prices. It actually became a bubble that would fuel itself because it drove up the price of Curve itself, and the incentives became a loop. So yeah, this stuff has been around for a long time. So we've definitely done innovation more than a regular democracy, because in a regular democracy or some other structure, let's say another structure, you can sometimes like buy, rent, or sell votes. But in crypto, we managed to make it so it's so the incentives are recursive, so it pumps the share price because people want to rent shares, because people would buy Curve tokens only to rent them out. So you can see how this becomes crazy. So yeah, we do have real innovation in this space.
See, we're figuring things out. Politics needs to be a little bit more open. They can learn from the pros.
They need leverage.
They need leverage, exactly.
That's what it's called, right?
That's the only way.
Yeah,
to do it. You've got to add leverage to voting. This is the only everything about the big tech interests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's it.
Cool. Well, you've been through more bulls and bears than the average Bitcoiner or crypto, aficionado. What's your big non-financial advice take? Where are we in the market cycle? Are we heading bullish? Are we heading bearish? Are we crab crawling? What's your take?
I think the bull market is still happening. I don't know how far into it we are. Maybe we're halfway. Depends on when you start counting from. I count from February last year or something like that, which is when it started warming up and then turned into bull market. Well, pretty hardcore this year. So I hope we're halfway. That would be nice. We're already seeing tons of new stuff. With Solana making a huge comeback. But this time it's not falling down every other hour. It's staying up, performing amazingly, right? Dude, so it's a huge change. There's a proper, there's an Ethereum killer out there. Ethereum competitor. Yeah, it doesn't do all the same stuff, but, it competes over many of the same users. So suddenly we have a chain that's going to stick around forever, possibly, because it's been around for so long, if you think about the Lindy effect. So before there were two, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now there's three. No other chain has done that. All the other ones, it's a graveyard. But I think Solana is going to stick around. And it's even managed to keep away its copycats.
Yeah. Which
were Aptos, Suri, Move, Linnea, Linnea, and so on. So that's new. And the non-financial advice is don't fight the current, just don't do it. Either sit on your hands or go with the flow. Sit on your hands, which means to hold Bitcoin or maybe Ethereum, but at least Bitcoin. It's going to work out amazing. You don't have to do anything. Come back in 10 years. But if you want to be active, if you want to trade, if you want to mess around, then you're going to have to stay with the trend. Like, where are the users flowing? Where's the value flowing? And not fight it. And right now that seems to be Solana. It may continue to be like that forever. So my advice is just to don't fight the fashion. Just become part of the movement. Or sit on your hands and get a life, touch grass, make a family, do something with your life. I'm not going to do that, but for somebody else.
Someone who doesn't have that risk appetite, that might be one player.
Yeah. That's my non-financial advice.
I know you guys, Sideshift, you guys have been supporting Solana quite early. Where do you guys see, I guess I see a lot of people online talking about how this is the bull market, and they talk as if meme coiners are retail. But I guess, what's your take? Do you feel like the activity on Solana is retail coming in for the first time and they're just coming right into Solana? Or do you think that it's more like refugees from Ethereum and Base and, all these other areas where they're like, I couldn't meme coin it quite as well, and the memes just weren't as good. Like in PvP, refugees from other chains coming into Solana to grow that river, or is it retail coming in to say like, I got to get me some Bowden, I got to get me some Tramp, or I got to get me some like Elizabeth Horan or whatever it is?
Hello, so good. I mean, just the fact that I recognize all those names tells you how successful these memes are, right? I know all of these. It's great. So, no, this is full-on retail adoption. The PvP was last year sometime. It was full PvP in DeFi. In DeFi, there's still PvP now on Ethereum, right? But no, what we're saying on what we're seeing on Solana with meme coins and maybe even on perpetuals, I don't know, of like non-meme coin assets, this is full-on retail. But also keep in mind, if I go and buy Bowden or buy Solana, or anything like that, then even though I've been in crypto forever and I run an exchange, I'm in this action, I am retail, right? And so are you. So when it comes to trading meme coins, we're all retail. We have no special knowledge. There's a few people who, create a lot of these meme coins. That would be who's making the money, and some content creators and so on. But all the rest of us, we're just retail messing around, which is okay. It's okay to be retail. There's no shame in that. So I think we're seeing a huge retail participation, which is great on the meme coins. But they don't seem to be touching anything else. They don't seem to be using DeFi on Ethereum or any of the L2s. They don't seem to be playing games that have crypto in them. I don't think they're buying Bitcoin either. So on my wild guess that we're like halfway into this cycle, then I hope we'll get a spillover from the meme coins into DeFi and also Bitcoin, or Bitcoin L2s, of course. But I think, but if you don't, it's fine. I love all meme coin traders. You're discovering crypto. You're helping scale Solana, because Solana has had to meet the demand, right, with innovation. And there's been huge innovations on DEX aggregators like Jupiter with on-chain DCAing and limit orders and other very interesting things. We have on-chain perpetuals that are working quite well and cheap also in Solana. So all the meme coin trading is fantastic. It's a great way to get into crypto, have lots of fun with your friends. It's lighthearted, it's cheap, nobody's taking it serious. And it's also stress testing the systems and causing a lot of innovation. So super positive. I do hope this spill over into DeFi.
Yeah, I agree. I think like one of the funny things is that I would say like the meme coins, they've put a price on humor. Like if you've got a really funny, a really, timely meme, you can make bank on this. You can turn it into an asset that potentially trades millions of dollars in volume per day, and it's something someone hacked out in 30 minutes online, which is kind of an interesting use case for crypto. But it is also like, I think going back previous cycles, the narrative, I think in 2021 and even 2019, and I mean in the ICO, like say 2017 in the ICO phase, and like going into the IEO, IDOs, following, everything was always like, yeah, but what's the utility? And then sometimes people would have a really great about the utility, and it was like, no, this is the goal towards utility. But nowadays, it seems like, at least with the meme stuff, nobody gives a shit. You don't need to have any utility. You just have to be spicy or be
this is so good
logo. And it's sort of like people, like at least in this cycle, it seems like utility has almost fallen off the wagon. Nobody gives a shit. It's like, what does it do? I don't know, but it's funny. It makes me laugh.
Yes,
I'm buying a bag.
And I also love that we came back full circle, because first we were like, okay, memes will be NFTs. There will only be one. They'll be numbered. And now it's like, wait. And then somebody's like, wait, okay, but I'll make a smart contract where you can put the NFTs in and we'll fractionalize it. Now We don't even need that because now you can.
Nonsense.
Yeah, because now the meme is already fractionalized. You don't have to own a whole boat, and is where we're going with this. Super positive innovation. I absolutely love it. I'm sorry for all the NFT holders. You guys are this. It's not coming back to you, I think.
It's going.
I'm sorry, guys. It's not happening. Yeah, dude. Because as a user, I never got NFTs, but like meme coins, I totally get it.
It clicks. It tickles the dopamine center, I think.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I better buy some more Bowden. It's not like, oh, I want to buy one more NFT. No.
Yeah. So I guess you and I, we're non-Americans, so we can talk about America briefly. America is not seen as the most crypto-friendly nation. So, I guess we've all been watching and seeing what's been going on. It seems like they're doing some sort of an election. I think they do this quite often, and they waste a lot of people's time and money, and we all talk about it. But seems like crypto is not exactly, the most friendly topic in the current U.S. administration. There's a few candidates in the running that claim to be pro-crypto. If you were, I guess just as an outside person looking in, who would you be telling your American crypto bag holders or your American meme coin traders to maybe taking a look at and voting for?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wish more people would be single issue voters. Just choose one thing you care about and vote for the candidate that at least claims to be more aligned with you on this. And I say claims because you can look at track records and voting and all these things, but it's complicated. They can change their minds. They may have made promises you don't understand. It's very complicated. So just keep it easy. To seem more aligned with you, vote for this candidate. And what that issue is to you, you choose. But make it a single issue because it's so complicated otherwise. And if everyone is a single issue voter, that kind of evens out. Some will be like, we have too many abortions. Somebody will say there's not enough abortions. We have too many guns. We don't have enough guns. There's too many rules for crypto, or there's not enough rules for crypto and all this stuff. And just find somebody. So for the people who are spending their time listening to this, I assume crypto will be the biggest for you. So just pick the person that can win. That would be more support to crypto. And right now, if this is like a Biden and Trump thing, it clearly seems to be Trump. And I'm not faulting Biden for this. He doesn't even know where he is. There's other people running the show. And that Elizabeth Warren's got her own meme coin seem to have, for some reason, I don't know what it is, have seemed to make it a big deal in her, current cycle to be against crypto. I'm sure there's, all kinds of complicated reasons for this we're not going to understand, but that policy seems to be the policy of the Democratic Party right now at the top. And Trump is more like, when he's asked on stage, what do you think about crypto? If you really look at it, what he's saying is, I don't give a shit. Just don't bother me with this. That's what he's saying, right? And that's great. That's enough. He can probably recognize that there's some group out there of voters, and they're young, and they have money, and they're into a new type of baseball card, and it's called crypto. So I'm for that because I can't be against these people. It's probably what he's thinking, not he's thinking, but his advisors, his team is thinking, and that's great. That's all we need. Just don't be hostile towards us. That's all we need. So these things are going to change, but I think just be a single issue voter and vote for somebody who can win. Don't vote for this half crazy environmentalist, even though he has, many great plans and visions, which would be RFK. Vote for the one who can win. And then, and then very slowly, politics, which is a very slow process, and the U.S. especially, because it is the world empire, it moves slowly by design of its founders, will move in the direction that is just slightly more favorable to crypto, which is all we need, right? As you said, it's been a bit hostile lately. Yes. The U.S., which is the current empire, it relies a lot on the dollar for making sure things are orderly around in the world and to their liking. And I'm sure that's why they're very careful when there's a new part of the financial system being invented in real time, like crypto, because they need to make sure it's not destabilizing this current structure, right? Because that would mess things up for them. So I totally understand that the system as a whole is wary of crypto, but at the same time, it should recognize that that Tether, the company, holds like $80 billion of U.S. Treasuries. The main backing of Tether is debt of the U.S. government, right? And
they hold more than
and Tether now. It does. They're up to 13 or something. So I hope they will recognize that they can not only maintain dollar dominance, but I think they can also exert dollar dominance over places where they haven't been able to reach in the past, which are places where they either were never pegged to USD or stopped doing it. Argentina is one. Because now they're using USDT in Argentina, right? Instead of pesos. That's power.
Yeah.
So I think they should just recognize that this is just the USDT supremacy, and it's spreading everywhere in the world. And that's part of crypto. And yes, there will be other assets, but they don't, they, at least for now and foreseeable future, do not seem to compete with USD. We try that. It doesn't work. People want things to be priced in dollars. People pay bills in dollars. Salaries are priced in dollars. We cannot become the medium of exchange and how we price things now. Could take hundreds of years. So yeah, I hope that.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just hope I hope the politicians, well, the regulators and the people handling them all the research, the economists and everyone can just see that this is clearly benefiting them, and it is the best for them to develop the technology in the US and let it develop fast, like regulated, like self-driving, which they're letting move really fast in America, even though people are complaining a lot, or AI, right? Just do the same. Just like look the other way. Let us innovate. Let us do the stuff, because otherwise they're going to make it in China. That is not a threat. This is simply how the world works. It's going to be made somewhere else. Look at the EU. It's completely irrelevant. They don't produce anything. There's not a single app on your phone that was made in Europe. So just make sure all the apps on the phone for crypto are made in America, and let them use it. And not impose all these, like the travel rules for buying sites, all this complicated stuff. Just like let people enjoy themselves a bit.
Yeah, I think like one of the interesting things is that I think, at least for most of the folks I know within crypto, everyone thinks like sort of like people have like a native language that they think in their brain. If you have like an internal monologue, you either think maybe you think in English if you're an English born speaker, but if you're a French guy and you know English, you might think in French or something like that. But I think most people in crypto think in US dollars. They like everything is somehow priced back to USD or USDT, if you want to say it. So it's kind of like how much Bitcoin am I holding? You might kind of have an approximate idea on like base BTC, but you're probably saying what's my net portfolio worth right now in approximate USDT. And when you're spending things online, you're buying a flight, you're not thinking, okay, I'm spending X or 0.1 BTC on something. You're thinking, okay, this flight's going to cost me, $2,500. And I think
it's a really nice flight.
Yeah, it's a long one. It's a long haul. You've been in Asia too long where it's like $100 flights and you're like, oof. Yeah, as soon as you start going overseas, it's like, and then you're on those like Boeings that tend to go down, so you got to be careful. But it's definitely like one of the benefits that the U.S. has going for it is that I think a lot of folks are just already primed to believe in in like base USD. Nobody's as hardcore of a BTC person or an ETH person you are. Most people, I think, are falling back into that, like, what's my net value in that base USD currency? Yeah. Fun. I've got one last question here, which is, I think you and I have both known Roger forever. He's without a doubt one of the most like hardcore crypto evangelists. If you've ever seen Roger online, he's almost, I would say he is identical to that person in reality. Like, and recently he got into a little bit of trouble with some allegations that the U.S. is making towards him. Won't talk too much about that stuff. But, I think just given that you've known Roger probably longer than most, what do you think people who don't know Roger or have any misjudgments about Roger perhaps need to know about him?
Yeah, like you said, Roger's always been a Bitcoin evangelist. And yeah, I mean, before this block size wars, he got fed up because he was onboarding merchants. Because Roger, like he wanted to eat a meal or go to a store and not ask them to accept Bitcoin. That's just who he is. He was always doing this. No matter how much or little money he had, he would always get people to adopt Bitcoin. And he was struggling to get people to adopt Bitcoin because the fees were so high. It was very difficult to explain why you should accept a payment for a $5 item if the fees are also $5. Like the whole unique selling point is gone. So he got very fed up and supported the Bitcoin Cash fork, which he did not make. That got into. And he just continued being an evangelist on Bitcoin Cash instead of Bitcoin. I hope for the future that he will become a multi-coin evangelist like yourself, or just a BTC evangelist. Whatever is fine, but just maybe put more of his effort where it benefits more of us today. Maybe a Bitcoin layer 2 evangelist, right? But that's what he's always done. That's what it's about. You can go and watch the documentary and know what it's on. Maybe you can buy it on Amazon, called The Rise and Rise of Bitcoin. It's almost 10 years old, I think. And he's walking around into every supermarket trying to get people to accept Bitcoin and all this. So this is who he is.
If you ever get an opportunity to hang out, I mean, speaking to the public in general, if you ever are hanging out with Roger, he doesn't miss any opportunity to try to explain Bitcoin or crypto to new people. He's one of the most generous people with his time, especially when it comes to like just trying to spread that adoption and to merchants and stuff like that. And I think, for him, I think being an entrepreneur and being a businessman and he was, selling memory in the old days as well. It was sort of like, this has immediate use case of like, you can transact on this network, this peer-to-peer network that allows you, similar to Napster, to just send money from A to B without passing through any intermediaries. And I think that message, he explains much more eloquently in his book, Hijacking Bitcoin, which I think, folks should probably go check out if you're unfamiliar with the scaling wars or unfamiliar with Roger and in his work. That book explains everything in clear detail. But he is 100% genuine and truly does care about like economic freedom for the world and making the world a better place. He's one of those people that doesn't need to work, but he chooses to work because he still believes in this thing so wholeheartedly. And I think, you and I have got to witness that over the years, and I'm sure many more people will get the opportunity as well in the future. So, yeah, kind of cool. Last stuff here is just this is actually one final question. This is a little extra one just for other folks coming into crypto for the first time. Maybe they're new to this cycle. They're new to crypto. They're maybe interested in starting a career in Bitcoin or crypto. Nothing beats getting paid in crypto. So, what does a new person have to do to launch a business in Bitcoin or crypto? What kind of advice would you give to someone who's like a dev wanting to come in, or an entrepreneur ready to build the next great thing? What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of course going to recommend that people apply for a job with us. We have loads of openings, Sideshift.ai/jobs, especially engineers, but anybody's welcome to apply. And in general, I always give the same advice, which is you should get a job in crypto. This is the coolest, most interesting industry in the world. We can make the most change, cutting edge technology. There's lots of money to be made. It's like being a pilot or a flight attendant in 1960. They were the only people who were allowed to go and see the world, while everybody just sat at home and had to listen to the stories and see the photos. That's where we're at. It's the coolest thing to be working in. We have the smartest people. We have the best parties, and everything is changing all the time. So you should get a job in crypto, whatever it is that you do. Doesn't have to be technical. If you have no or little relevant work experience, find a company that you heard of, get recommended by a friend, and ask if you can get any job, like customer support, being a moderator, anything like this. If you're an accountant, help them do accounting, right? Even if you're a student, you can do something part-time. If there's a thing you're already using, maybe they have a community, an existing community you can get in touch with. If you need to make more of a regular salary, just go and figure out who's raised money. In Solana, lots of people are raising money and have raised money now. Go on the Solana website. Look at the list of the ecosystem. There's a list of companies. Cold email them, stalk them down at a conference and say, I want a job. This is how you do it. Just show your interest, because there's nothing. It's very, very hard to beat initiative, right? So that's what you need to be doing.
Extremely well put. Yeah, I think.
Don't stalk people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you gotta at least have a bit of a hustle to kind of like push, right? You kind of. A lot of people fighting for it, so you got to be confident enough to just be like, all right, I'm getting into this high-risk field. Let's go,
Yeah, and get a job where it's cool. The stuff you hear about online, you've heard about Solana, you heard about Jupiter, Drift, all these projects, right? The stuff you're hearing about, if there is some money, Backpack, I recommend highly. I know the people who work there. Go work where it's cool. It's the most fun, and they'll probably make more money too.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, Andreas, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll link to all the Sideshift.ai stuff in the show notes for anyone who wants to go try out their first swap. That's an easy way to do it. You can also, of course, swap inside the Bitcoin.com wallet app, which is fully self-custodial. If you're anywhere outside of the US, you're probably going to connect through Sideshift, where you can swap from Bitcoin to USDT to BCH to Ethereum to random shit coins, you name it. So it's an easy place to go try it out. But yeah, Brekken, thank you again for joining. This has been fun.
Thank you.
Cool, man. We'll be in touch. See you guys.